Bank employees humiliate black man without knowing he is their boss. But when his true identity is revealed, everyone is shocked. Marcus Johnson walked into the Patterson Klein branch in Chicago, his presence marked by a mix of determination and casual ease. Dressed in dark jeans and a simple t-shirt, he wasn't exactly the attire one would expect in a prestigious bank. He was there to resolve a banking issue, but what he didn't know was that his fate was about to change. As he made his way through the branch, the gazes of the clients turned toward him, but not with the admiration he anticipated. Instead, they were filled with disdain and indifference. Amanda Harris, a nervous-looking attendant, stood behind the counter, completely unaware of Marcus's potential. When he approached for assistance, her gaze diverted, as if he were unworthy of her attention. "Next!" Amanda shouted, without even glancing up. Marcus hesitated, a bit taken aback, but decided to ignore. "I need help with... Do you have a client number?" Amanda interrupted, her voice impersonal and almost robotic. Her tone made it clear that he was just another ordinary client, one among many. In the background, other clients murmured, and some even laughed quietly as if the situation were hilarious. A group of suited men sitting at one of the tables exchanged sarcastic comments. "Look at that. The fashionable client needs help," one of them said loudly, prompting more laughter from the others. A knot formed in Marcus's stomach, but he tried to keep his composure. "I just want to resolve a simple issue. It has nothing to do with..." His voice faltered as the imposing figure of Michael Brooks, the arrogant branch manager, approached. He wore a smug grin that quickly morphed into a look of disdain upon realizing the situation. "Oh, just another ordinary client, huh?" Michael said, crossing his arms and looking Marcus up and down. "You do know you need a suit to be in here, right? Or at least a bit of, how can I put it, class?" He laughed and the others joined in. Marcus felt humiliation rise within him, but he tried to explain. "I just want to resolve an issue with my account. It has nothing to do with..." But Michael cut him off, arrogance dripping from his voice. "Listen, buddy, we have rules and you clearly don't fit into them. If you don't have what you need, maybe it's best to look for another bank. This isn't a place for fashionable clients like you." Marcus's heart raced. He was about to respond when suddenly the door to the branch swung open and David Thompson, the regional director, walked in. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Laughter ceased and all eyes turned to him, and then to Marcus. David recognized Marcus immediately, and his face lit up with a genuine smile. "Marcus, great to see you here." Michael, who had been so confident just moments before, paled as he realized the gravity of his mistake. "What are you doing here?" he managed to murmur, the tension in the room becoming palpable. The silence was deafening, and the humiliation Marcus had felt was now shared by Michael, who saw his world of superiority crumble in an instant. Marcus Johnson entered the meeting room with a serious expression. The environment, once marked by the awkward silence following his revelation, now pulsed with a mix of anticipation and fear. Michael Brooks sat at the table, his shoulders tense and jaw clenched, while Amanda Harris looked at the floor, visibly anxious. David Thompson, the regional director, maintained a neutral position, observing the dynamic between the three. "I need everyone to understand the gravity of the situation," Marcus began, his voice firm but controlled. "What happened here today is not just a matter of respect, it's a matter of dignity. Every client who walks into this branch deserves to be treated with respect, regardless of their appearance or background." Michael, trying to maintain composure, shot Marcus a disdainful look. "But Marcus, he was just a client. That doesn't mean you should feel so offended. What really matters is performance and results," he said, seeking to justify his behavior. Marcus crossed his arms, frustration bubbling. "No, Michael. That's exactly what's wrong with this culture. Performance cannot be measured solely in numbers and financial results. The way we treat our clients shapes the reputation of our agency and consequently our success. You're so obsessed with status that you fail to see the people around you." Amanda, who had been silent until now, finally lifted her head. "I'm sorry, Marcus. I didn't realize what was happening. I was so worried about keeping my job that I ended up ignoring what truly matters. You deserve respect just like all other clients," she said, her voice trembling but sincere. Marcus looked at her, a slight smile of encouragement emerging on his face. "Thank you, Amanda. Recognizing our mistakes is the first step toward change. We need to create an environment where everyone feels comfortable being themselves. That starts with each of us." David, sensing the tension, decided to intervene. Perhaps we should consider diversity and inclusion training for all employees. That could help build a new culture in the agency, he suggested, looking from one to the other, seeking support. I agree, Marcus said, looking at David with gratitude. We need a program that not only promotes diversity, but also teaches empathy and respect. This has to be mandatory, not optional. The change must start now. Michael, still reluctant, grumbled, I don't know if this will really work. People have their opinions and beliefs. We can't just change that overnight. You're right, Michael, Marcus replied, looking firmly into the manager's eyes. It won't be easy, but if you commit to participating, it could be your chance to shift your own perspective. Transformation begins with the willingness to change. The meeting continued, and the tension began to slowly dissipate. Michael, though still skeptical, realized he could no longer ignore what was happening. He needed to adapt, or, with a sigh, he agreed, All right, I'll participate in the training, but I hope this really makes a difference. Marcus smiled, a sign of hope. Together, we can make a difference. And remember, true leadership isn't about power, it's about serving and inspiring others. Before we continue with this exciting story, take a moment to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any stories, and let us know which city you're watching this video from in the comments. As the meeting came to a close, Marcus made it clear that changes would begin immediately. We cannot allow a culture of disdain to prevail here. It's time to build an environment where everyone is respected and valued. We will not just be an agency, we will be an example of inclusion and empathy. As he left the room, Marcus felt a mix of relief and determination. He knew the road ahead would be challenging, but he was ready to fight for this change. The Patterson-Klein agency was about to embark on a new journey, and he was determined to lead it with integrity and respect. The atmosphere at Patterson-Klein was shifting, and the transformation was becoming noticeable, especially among the employees directly impacted by the revelation of the new CEO. Marcus Johnson, with his firm stance and vision for an inclusive environment, was determined to implement a training program on inclusion and diversity, and Michael Brooks, the manager who had previously shown such arrogance, now found himself compelled to participate. In the meeting room, employees settled into their chairs, exchanging glances that carried a mix of anticipation and discomfort. Standing before the team, Marcus began to outline his expectations for the training. This is a crucial moment for us, he said, his voice strong yet welcoming. The culture of our bank must reflect the diversity of our community. We need to understand that every client, regardless of their background, deserves to be treated with respect and dignity. Michael, sitting at one end of the table, nodded along, but his expression betrayed the internal struggle he faced. He, who once felt superior and untouchable, was now about to confront his own biases. Why is this so important now, Marcus? He challenged, trying to maintain a defiant posture. We've always done our work, and clients don't care about this. Marcus didn't hesitate. That's exactly why we're here. Believing that everything is fine just because we have loyal clients is a mistake. We need to go beyond that, creating a space where everyone feels valued. What we need is empathy, Michael. The silence that followed was heavy as the team reflected on Marcus's words. Amanda Harris, the attendant who had previously felt threatened by Marcus, listened intently. She began to realize that her insecurity made her less approachable and more defensive. When the training began, she felt an urge to open up. Marcus, can I ask something? She said hesitantly. How can we change our mindset if we've always been taught to act a certain way? Marcus smiled, appreciating her courage. Change starts with awareness, Amanda. We need to recognize that our prejudices are often learned and therefore can be unlearned. The first step is the willingness to listen and learn from others. In the following days, the training room became a space of discovery. Michael, sitting in his chair, began to feel increasingly uncomfortable as he listened to the personal stories of his colleagues. He found himself confronted with his own attitudes, reflecting on how his jokes and superficial comments had affected not only Marcus but also other clients and employees. One day, during a training session, he raised his hand. "Can I speak?" he asked, his voice noticeably softer. "I never thought this was a problem. I always believed I was just trying to be funny, but now I realize that this hurt people." The other employees exchanged surprised glances. Michael was shedding his armor, and for the first time he seemed willing to be vulnerable. "I want to change. I want to learn how to be a better colleague, and more importantly, a better manager. What do you suggest, Marcus?" "Your desire to change is already a great start, Michael. Marcus replied with an encouraging look. The next step is to put yourself in others' shoes. Try to understand how your words and actions impact those around you. Meanwhile, Amanda was absorbing everything attentively. The sessions inspired her to be more open and empathetic. On one occasion, while assisting a client from a different background, she remembered Marcus's words and smiled warmly. "Welcome to Patterson Klein. How can I assist you today?" The client's response, a genuine smile, warmed her heart. The transformation at the agency was spreading like wildfire. Interactions, once laden with disdain and indifference, began to be replaced by respect. The team was no longer just a group of employees. They were becoming a community. The change was solidifying, and every small progress was celebrated, reinforcing the new culture that Marcus was cultivating with such dedication. Marcus was nervous but also excited. He was preparing to take the stage at an event on inclusion in the banking sector that was taking place in the heart of Chicago. The room was filled with industry professionals, all eager to hear what the new CEO of Patterson Klein had to say. He took a deep breath, adjusted his tie, and looked out at the audience. Seeing familiar faces, like David Thompson's and even Amanda's, enveloped him in a sense of camaraderie and support. When Marcus began to speak, his voice was steady and clear. "Good afternoon, everyone," he started. "Today I am here not only as the new CEO of Patterson Klein, but as an advocate for inclusion and respect. We all know that the banking sector, like many others, faces challenges related to diversity. But I believe change is possible, and we are already making it happen at our agency." Murmurs of approval began to rise from the audience. He continued, "Recently I had an experience that made me reflect deeply on what it means to be treated with dignity. It wasn't easy, but those experiences shaped me, and that's what I want for all of our clients. I want every person who walks into one of our branches to feel valued." During his speech, Marcus shared a personal story about the day he was humiliated in his own agency, unaware that he was about to take the helm. He could see the audience engaging, feeling every word that came from his mouth. True transformation begins with empathy. If we cannot see and hear each other's experiences, we will not be able to create a space where everyone feels welcome. After Marcus spoke, he was surrounded by journalists eager to learn more about his initiatives. He answered each question with enthusiasm, his confidence growing with each interaction. Local media began to take an interest in Patterson Klein's new approach, creating a positive buzz around the agency. Meanwhile, on the other side of the room, Michael Brooks watched the scene with a mix of admiration and reflection. He had never seen Marcus so at ease. When the event ended, he approached Marcus, a bit hesitant. "Hey, I just wanted to say you were amazing up there. I really didn't know your story was so powerful," Michael said, a touch of vulnerability in his voice. Marcus smiled, seeing the sincerity in Michael's face. "Thank you, Michael. It's important for all of us to share our stories. It helps build bridges, you know?" "Yeah, I'm starting to understand that," Michael replied, looking thoughtful. "I really want to make a difference, but I don't know where to start." "Everyone has a role to play, Michael. Start by listening. Ask your colleagues how they feel and what we can do to improve," Marcus advised. Meanwhile, Amanda watched from a distance, reflecting on her own insecurities. She approached Marcus and Michael, a bit shy. "Hi, I just wanted to say that your words really touched me, Marcus. I'm trying to become a better and more welcoming attendant, but I don't always know how to do that." Marcus looked at her with an encouraging smile. "Amanda, the first step has already been taken. By recognizing your insecurities, you are already on the right path. Remember, it's about connection. Treat each client as if they were someone you know and value." In the days that followed the event, the change began to be felt at the agency. Employees were more motivated and willing to work together as a team. The environment became more welcoming, and clients started commenting on the difference they saw in the service. One client, upon leaving the agency, told Amanda, "I feel so welcomed here now. It's like they really care about me." Amanda smiled, her heart warming with the positive feedback. She knew she still had a long way to go, but she felt she was becoming part of something bigger. The transformation was just beginning, and everyone was coming together to shape a new future for Patterson Klein. Marcus Johnson observed the conference room with a keen eye as the team settled into their chairs. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation and nervousness. After revealing his identity as the new CEO, he felt a new dynamic in play. Michael Brooks and Amanda Harris were present, both visibly anxious but also hopeful. The transformation Marcus had proposed was starting to take shape, but the shadows of the past still loomed over them. I want to start this meeting by acknowledging the progress we've all made, Marcus said, breaking the silence. He turned to Michael and Amanda. I believe that together we can shape a new future for Patterson-Klein. Michael, still grappling with the humiliation he felt after the revelation, listened in silence. He had been confronted with his own prejudices and was trying to redeem himself, but the scars of his arrogance were still visible. Thank you, Marcus, he began, his voice trembling. I truly appreciate the opportunity to be part of this change. I know I've made mistakes and I'm willing to learn. Amanda, sitting next to Michael, looked at him with a mix of empathy and insecurity. I also want to make a difference, she added hesitantly. I felt that sometimes I let my fears interfere with my work. I want to help create a more welcoming environment for all of our clients. Marcus smiled, encouraging their openness. That's great, Amanda. The first step is recognizing our flaws and being willing to change. We need to establish a standard of respect and inclusion that all employees can follow, and that starts with both of you. But not everyone was ready for change. During the conversation, one of the employees, Carlos, who was sitting at the back of the room, couldn't hold back his opinions. This all sounds nice, Marcus, but what about results? What will this do for our performance? We can't let inclusion get in the way of our work, he said dismissively. Marcus frowned. Carlos, what many don't realize is that an inclusive environment not only boosts team morale but also translates into better financial results. Clients feel more valued when treated with respect. This generates loyalty and, consequently, profits. Carlos rolled his eyes, but Marcus remained unfazed. I understand that change can be uncomfortable, but we all need to commit. Michael, Amanda, what do you think? I agree with what Marcus said, Michael replied, now more confident. When I was a manager, I often didn't realize the impact of my words and actions, but now I see how it can affect not only clients but also the team. We need to support each other. Amanda, encouraged by Michael's stance, added, I would like to suggest regular training on diversity and inclusion. This could help our team better understand our clients' needs and respect differences. Carlos, realizing he was losing support, tried to change tactics. But who's going to pay for that? And what if it doesn't work? We can't afford to waste resources like that. Marcus firm responded, investing in diversity is not a waste. It's an investment in the future of our agency. We need a team that reflects the diversity of our clients. And if you're worried about costs, I can assure you that in the long run, the benefits outweigh any initial expenses. The tension in the room was palpable. Carlos's resistance was a reflection of the internal struggle many faced. But Marcus was not willing to back down. Times are changing, and we need to change too. The culture at Patterson-Klein must be one of inclusion and respect. And that starts now. Michael, realizing that change was inevitable, decided to stand with Marcus. Carlos, if you're not willing to adapt, you may need to reconsider your place here. We can't let the resistance of a few hold back the evolution of everyone. The meeting ended with a divided atmosphere, but the seeds of transformation had been planted. Marcus knew there was still much work ahead, but Michael and Amanda's willingness to commit to the new vision was a positive sign. He was determined to move forward, even in the face of resistance, because fundamental change would not happen overnight. The conference room was filled, and tension hung in the air. Marcus, standing in front of the team, felt the weight of expectations. He had been watching with concern the discussions surrounding the new culture of inclusion he was trying to implement at the agency. Some employees, clearly dissatisfied, were struggling to accept the changes. The atmosphere was charged with, I want everyone to feel comfortable expressing their opinions. Marcus began, his voice firm yet calm. We are here to discuss how we can move forward together toward a more inclusive environment. This is an opportunity for all of us to grow and learn. At the back of the room, a colleague named Eric, known for his sarcastic demeanor, couldn't hold back his urge to interrupt. Oh, sure. Inclusion and empathy are nice words, but in practice this is just going to make everything more confusing. The truth is, people like you don't understand how the market works, he said, crossing his arms and throwing a challenging glance. Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the provocation. Eric, you may think inclusion is confusing, but know that it is the key to a healthy and productive work environment. What we are trying to build here is a space where everyone feels valued and heard, and this goes beyond any market strategy. It's about human dignity. Silence filled the room. All eyes turned to Michael Brooks, who was sitting next to Marcus. He observed the scene, grappling with his own conflicting feelings. The old Michael, arrogant and disdainful, was transforming, but he still faced an internal battle he needed to overcome. He stood up, feeling it was time to take a stand. "Look, I've been on Eric's side," Michael began, his voice hesitant. "The idea of change is scary, but honestly, I've seen how this change has already started making a difference. I've learned a lot from Marcus's initiative. It's not easy, but it's necessary." Eric rolled his eyes, but Michael continued. "If we don't adapt, we're going to fall behind. The world is changing, and if we don't accept that, we'll be the only ones losing out." Inclusion isn't just a policy, it's a necessity. The atmosphere in the room began to shift. Some employees murmured in agreement, while others seemed surprised by Michael's defense. Marcus smiled, encouraged by the change in tone. "Thank you, Michael, for your honesty," he said. "Cultural transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it's a worthwhile endeavor. And if you're feeling threatened by these changes, I understand," Marcus continued, looking directly at Eric. "But I'm here to listen. We're not trying to take anything away from you. We're trying to add value. Let's find a way to do this together." Eric hesitated, clearly shaken by Marcus's response. "I just don't want this to turn into a circus, you know. I don't want things to get out of control because of all voices." "I understand your point," Marcus replied, maintaining his calm. "But what I'm asking is for you to trust the process. Diversity brings different perspectives that can enrich our work. This doesn't mean the quality of what we do will be compromised. In fact, it might improve." As the conversation unfolded, the atmosphere in the room became more collaborative. Murmurs of discontent began to give way to dialogue. Marcus realized that by exposing his own vulnerabilities and creating space for others to do the same, he was fostering a safer environment. "I believe we can all learn from each other," Marcus concluded. "And if you're feeling uncomfortable, reach out to me. I'm here to help, and I want each of you to feel at ease discussing your fears and concerns." "Maybe I've been a bit harsh," admitted Eric, his posture relaxing. "I just want to make sure we're doing the right thing." "We're all in the same boat," Michael said, smiling. "Let's come together and figure this out." The meeting ended with a renewed sense of hope. Although challenges lay ahead, connection and empathy were beginning to blossom within the agency. The path to change would be long, but the seeds of transformation had already been planted, and everyone was ready to nurture them together. Marcus Johnson was looking forward to the panel on inclusive leadership that would take place at a prestigious national conference. The event promised to bring together leaders from various sectors, but for him, the most important aspect was the opportunity to share his journey and the transformation he was promoting at Patterson-Klein. Dressed in a well-fitted suit, he surveyed the conference room, feeling the vibrant energy of engaged and attentive individuals. When it was his turn to speak, he took a deep breath and approached the microphone. "Good afternoon, everyone," he began, his voice strong and clear. "Today I want to share not just a story of personal transformation, but also a vision of how inclusion can change not only a company, but also the lives of the people it serves." The audience was attentive, and he saw the faces of the participants reflecting curiosity and interest. "When I took over as CEO of Patterson-Klein, I found a culture that desperately needed change, not only for ethical reasons, but because we understood that diversity is not just a moral obligation, it's a smart business strategy." He paused, allowing his words to resonate. Companies that embrace diversity and inclusion not only expand their customer base, but also create a more innovative and productive work environment. When people feel respected and valued, they give their best effort. After his speech, several hands shot up in the audience. A woman with curly hair and glasses asked, "How did you handle the initial resistance from your team?" Marcus smiled as he recalled the challenges he had faced. It was challenging. Some people were so used to the status quo that they resisted any change, but instead of confronting them aggressively, I chose an open dialogue. We held training sessions, promoted conversations about bias, and most importantly, we listened. Active listening was crucial in building trust. The audience responded with applause, and Marcus felt energized. A man in the front row raised his hand. "What about the impact on the communities around you? How are you connecting with them?" "Great question. Sir, we have established a financial literacy program for youth in underserved communities. We believe that by empowering young people with financial knowledge, we are not only helping to break the cycle of poverty, but also investing in the future of our society. The response has been incredible, and it has also brought in new clients for the bank." As Marcus spoke, he noticed Michael Brooks in the audience. The former manager, who had once been arrogant and skeptical about change, was now listening attentively, with a look of respect on his face. This made Marcus feel even stronger in his mission. After the QA session, a group of participants approached him, praising his presentation. Michael approached, a genuine smile on his face. "You were amazing, Marcus. Seriously, your approach is inspiring. I never thought I'd be here, admiring someone I once saw as just a regular client." Marcus laughed, recognizing the irony of the situation. "Change doesn't happen overnight, Michael. It's a process. You've also done a fantastic job of reinventing yourself. I'm proud of you." "Thank you. That means a lot coming from you," Michael replied, his eyes shining. "I want to do more. I want to take these ideas to our team and ensure we don't go back to how we were before." As the conference drew to a close, a positive energy filled the air. People clustered together, discussing animatedly, excited about the new ideas and directions being proposed. Marcus felt satisfied, knowing that his message of inclusion was spreading and that the transformation he had initiated at Patterson-Klein could extend beyond the walls of the agency. "We are just getting started," he thought, "and together we can build a more inclusive and respectful future, not just for us, but for everyone around us." Marcus was anxious, yet excited, as he arrived at TI. He knew this was the perfect opportunity to strengthen the ties between Patterson-Klein and the residents of Chicago. The venue was decorated with colorful banners and tables filled with information about inclusion and empowerment programs. He spotted Amanda at a nearby table where she was talking to a group of young people about personal finance. The energy of the event was contagious. "Hi, Amanda. How are you?" Marcus greeted her with a warm smile. "Hi, Marcus. I'm good, thanks. I'm just trying to explain the importance of saving and investing. These young people have so much potential," Amanda replied, her eyes sparkling. She had become more confident and engaged since the changes began at the agency. "That's great. You're doing an incredible job. This is exactly what we want, to empower the community," Marcus said, admiring her dedication. The two chatted enthusiastically about their experiences in their new roles when a group of young one of them, a boy with curly hair, asked, "What do you do at the bank? How can you help us?" "I'm the CEO of Patterson-Klein," Marcus replied humbly, "and I'm here to ensure that everyone has access to financial services and education. We want you to understand how money works and how you can build a better future." The young people looked surprised. "Wow, we didn't know you cared so much," a girl commented. "Of course we care. You are the future, and we want you to be prepared for it," Amanda said, nodding enthusiastically. "We're here to help you understand how to manage your finances and the importance of staying informed." As they spoke, Marcus and Amanda noticed David approaching with a satisfied expression. "It's wonderful to see you interacting with the community. This is exactly what we need," he remarked, joining the conversation. "We're just getting started, David. We need to do more events like this," Marcus responded eagerly. "And if we can expand this to other branches, we could create a program that involves more people and spreads this message to more communities," David suggested, his gaze hopeful. "Yes, that would be amazing. We should discuss this at the next board meeting," Marcus agreed, the idea buzzing in his mind. "We need to ensure that inclusion and financial education are priorities throughout the network." However, as they planned for the future, Marcus began to realize that there was still a long way to go. He sensed resistance from some employees to accept the changes and the need for a more robust plan. "We need to formalize these initiatives. We can't let progress depend solely on the goodwill of a few. We must institutionalize these practices," he reflected aloud. Amanda, listening carefully, added, "Maybe we could create a diversity and inclusion committee, a diverse group that can help implement and monitor changes across all branches." "Excellent idea, Amanda," David praised. "This will not only help maintain focus, but also give voice to different perspectives within the bank." "Let's do it. We need passionate and committed people to drive this transformation," Marcus said, determined. "And I want everyone at the agency to feel part of this." The conversation continued to flow, filled with enthusiasm and innovative ideas. The community event was not just an opportunity to connect with residents, but also a catalyst for the transformation Marcus wanted to see in his agency. He knew it was time to act, and that the future of Patterson-Klein was in everyone's hands. As the sun began to set, Marcus looked at the crowd gathering, realizing the significance of what they were doing. "We can truly make a difference, not just in the bank but in the community as a whole," he thought, feeling more confident than ever about his vision for the institution. Tension hung in the air at the Patterson-Klein agency. Marcus Johnson, the newly appointed CEO, sensed that despite significant advances in organizational culture, there were still shadows threatening the new order. In recent days, rumors of discontent and conspiracies had begun to circulate among some employees. To him, it was evident that not everyone was willing to accept the changes he had introduced. One morning, while reviewing some reports, an anonymous message reached him. The content was clear. A group of employees was banding together in an effort to undermine his leadership. We need to act quickly, Marcus thought, his heart racing. He knew that resistance to change was normal, but the idea of an internal conspiracy unsettled him. Determined to uncover the truth, Marcus began his investigation. Thus, he informally spoke with some employees, observing behaviors and exchanges of glances that could indicate complicity. In one of those conversations, he encountered Amanda Harris, the attendant who had transformed since his arrival. "Amanda, have you noticed anything strange among the colleagues? That conversation we had about inclusion, it seems not everyone is on board," he asked. Leaning slightly forward, his intense gaze fixed on her. "Actually, Marcus, I've heard some things," Amanda replied. "Some people say you don't really understand how the bank operates and that your decisions are, well, impulsive. I don't know if it's just gossip, but the atmosphere has changed a bit." Marcus frowned, absorbing her words. "Thank you for letting me know. I will look into this. The change we're promoting is crucial, and I can't let people who aren't committed undermine it." As days passed, he gathered information and began to piece together the situation. He realized that the resistance wasn't just a matter of discontent, but also of fear and insecurity. Many were afraid of losing their jobs or status. One morning, he decided to confront the conspirators. He called a meeting, his presence firm and resolute. On the designated day, the meeting room was packed. The faces of the employees reflected a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Marcus entered, taking a deep breath. "Thank you all for being here. Today we have a serious issue to discuss," he said, his voice clear. "In recent days I've received information that some of you are dissatisfied with the direction we're taking, and honestly, I expected that the majority of you would be on board with this journey." One of the employees, a young man named Derek, raised his hand. "But Marcus, the changes are happening too quickly. Some of our old practices were working. Why change everything at once?" Marcus looked at him with empathy. "I understand your point, Derek, but the old practices also perpetuated an environment of exclusion and disrespect. We're trying to build something better, not just for ourselves, but for our clients and the community. Resistance is not the answer." At that moment, another employee, Rachel, who appeared visibly nervous, stood up. "But things have never been this way. Some people feel that you don't understand what we're facing, Day. There's a group that thinks you're not the right person to lead this transformation." "A group? Are you saying there's a conspiracy against me?" Marcus asked, his voice calm yet firm. "If there's something I should know, it's time to be honest." The atmosphere in the room shifted. Nervous glances were exchanged, and some colleagues began to whisper among themselves. Marcus then decided to expose the evidence he had gathered, revealing conversations and emails that indicated dissatisfaction and, "I'm not here to dismantle what you've built, but to create something new and inclusive. Attempts to undermine this leadership are not only harmful to me, but to all of us. What do you hope to achieve?" Silence dominated the room until Michael, who had transformed over time, stood up. "Marcus is right, I hesitated too, but I've realized that change is necessary. We must all work together to improve this place and not let discontent or insecurities take over." Marcus felt a wave of relief as he saw Michael take a stand. The meeting was turning into a battleground between the old mentality and the new vision being proposed. He knew there was still a long way to go, but the willingness of some to confront the resistance was a sign of hope. The atmosphere in the meeting room was tense and palpable. All the employees of Patterson-Klein were present, and nervous murmurs spread among the groups. Marcus Johnson, the new CEO, knew this was a pivotal moment to reaffirm the new culture of the agency and dismantle any resistance. He positioned himself in front of the table, his gaze steady, and began to speak. "Good morning, everyone," Marcus started, his voice resonating with calm authority. "We're here today not just to discuss the future of our bank, but to ensure that what we've built together isn't undermined by retrograde attitudes and sabotage. Inclusion and respect are fundamental pillars of our new culture, and we cannot allow anyone to compromise that." He paused, observing the apprehensive looks from his colleagues. Then he continued, In recent days, I discovered that some of you were involved in a conspiracy to discredit the leadership that is trying to bring about positive changes for this agency. This is not only unacceptable, it's treacherous. A murmur of unease rippled through the room. The faces turned toward a group of employees who, visibly uncomfortable, exchanged nervous glances. Among them was Laura, one of the collaborators who had always opposed the changes. Marcus didn't hesitate. "Laura," he called, his tone firm but not hostile. "You and your allies believed you could bring down this new leadership, but the truth is that change has already begun. Those who do not adapt will be left behind." Laura crossed her arms, trying to appear confident. "You're being dramatic, Emmy. No one here is conspiring. We're just concerned about the directions you're taking." Marcus took a deep breath and continued. "Concerns are valid, but sabotage is betrayal. I have evidence of your activities, and I won't hesitate to present it to the bank's board if necessary. The truth is that inclusion is not just an option, it's a responsibility we all have." Michael Brooks, who had remained silent until then, stood up from his chair. His expression, a mix of determination and remorse, caught everyone's attention. "I know I'm part of the past that Marcus is trying to change. I've done things I'm ashamed of, but unlike Laura, I believe we should move forward. I'm here to support Marcus and what he represents." Michael's words were like a ray of hope amidst the tension. "This is an important step, Michael," Marcus said, looking at him with gratitude. "We need more people like you, willing to stand up for what's right and defend the new culture we're building." Laura, realizing that Michael's support was changing the scenario, tried to attack again. "But you can't just ignore legitimate concerns. What if this fails? What if inclusion doesn't work? You're putting everything at risk." Marcus, with a determined look, replied, "We're doing what's right, and that's what matters. If you can't see the value of inclusion, then maybe it's time to reevaluate your place here. What is at stake is not just our agency, but also our commitment to ethics and respect. We cannot allow the resistance of a few to interfere with the progress of many." The tension in the room increased, and some employees began whispering among themselves. It was evident that resistance was forming, but Marcus was prepared. He raised his hand, asking for silence once more. "Today I will expose the conspirators, those who have attempted to undermine our collective efforts. And I'm not just talking about layoffs. I will take this to the board and ensure there are consequences for those unwilling to align with our values." As he spoke these words, he realized that the room had become a battleground between the old and the new. The conspirators, in a last-ditch effort, tried to discredit him, but Marcus already had the evidence in hand. He turned to one of the dissenters. "You, Carlos, are one of the main architects of this conspiracy. Your behavior is unacceptable and harmful to all of us. You may not believe in inclusion, but I believe in justice and ethics. Therefore, I will expose you to the board, and there will be no turning back." Silence fell over the room. Carlos, realizing he was cornered, attempted to protest, but Marcus interrupted him. "There's no point in trying to defend yourself now. Your attempts to sabotage our culture have been recorded and documented." With that, the meeting took a new direction. Marcus not only demonstrated his leadership and courage, but also ensured that the agency's new philosophy would prevail. He looked at his colleagues, who now appeared more confident, and said, "Together we will build something greater. Those who do not adapt will be left behind, and we will move forward together." The room filled with applause, and Marcus felt that he was finally on the right path. He had not only exposed the resistance, but also reinforced the importance of inclusion and respect, solidifying his position as a transformative leader. We've reached the end of this moving story. If you enjoyed it and want to see more tales like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Right now, there's a playlist of videos on your screen. If you'd like to keep watching these touching stories, just click on it to start. And now, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from, and leave a like to support our work. Now, a sincere question: do you agree with what happened in the story? We want to hear your opinion. Until the next video.